good Saturday for the rest of us. So guys, we are going to react on a very fast one for that case, but I know it's very informative, guys, so keep seated and listen to us. Yeah, so let me do some makeup as I actually get into this live. A real quick one. How about this? A real quick one. So welcome on board, guys. It has been a good Saturday. I've done some little bit of work here and there. You know, most times you have to cover up for what you've not been doing. And I am lazy in vlogging whatever I do. But I hope that once I get the enough following, I'll be doing vlogs, because automatically I'll know that there's a high following that will be actually following what I'm doing. So guys, welcome on board. Feel free to participate, because this is a vlog. The reason why I'm doing makeup, I want to address the Gen Zs here. You know, for us, we are not Gen Zs. We are almost approaching 40s. Guys. And we are almost beginning to now wait on our babies, or rather kids. Yeah, so welcome on board and feel free to participate from wherever base you are. For us, it's almost 1:38. That's lunchtime, so I'll be eating at some point, especially when I focus my camera elsewhere. So my food is here. Actually, I have African veggies here. Yeah. Ugali for us, avocado there. And if you've ever eaten mrenda, yeah, it's almost like okra, but now it's softer than that. And aside, we have the leaves of guess what? Yeah, we have the pumpkin leaves also aside, then mrenda there, and ugali, avocado. So we are in the African, deep in African. You know, sometimes at work you are forced to eat the white. Instead of greens, you have to eat the white. And you have to keep eating meat sometimes. And especially not just meat, but beef, the red meat. So guys, welcome on board. Actually, I can see one person already here. Thank you. Big up to you. God bless you on this Sabbath day. So guys, there is something that has actually pricked my conscience. I saw some lady on Fantastic, and the lady was saying that she owes her parents nothing. You know, the lady was actually preaching something negative, opposed to our African culture. We know that it's not actually the responsibility of the daughter or the son to do everything for the parents, but at least the minimum, the bare minimum. You need to do something for your parents, and you cannot actually push aside and say you are not responsible for that, because if they wanted, they would not have given birth to you. Shame on you. Shame on you. When I saw this lady, I was like, shame on her. And Fantastic was telling us, we as women now should talk, because this was a lady, you know, flashy with the nails and all that, and she's like, yeah, I don't owe my parents anything. I was like, oh. So our kids are going to disown us if we are not careful. We have to invest in ourselves. Yeah? And this sometimes may mean a parent deprives a child some of the things they deserve. Because if a child will actually, if you think that your child will come up telling you that you owe them nothing, how much do you think you will invest in them? Most parents invest in us because they know when they wear out, at that old age, the only hope is us. Yeah, and even for those who say that in America, children become independent, I don't think the parents are left out totally. I've seen a lot of parents in America in, you know, they call them care homes, home care. And I'm very sure those who take them there, because I follow those videos, and you find that in case a worker is mistreating a parent, the kids place a camera somewhere and follow up on how the mother is being treated. So you can't tell me that those people in America have a culture whereby they disregard their parents. Not at all. Yeah, it's only that sometimes they can travel away and they have to have somebody to take care of their children, guys. So if you are on board, thank you so much. God bless you. And you can actually contribute towards the topic. Just chat in relation to the topic and give your ideas. What is your thought? Do you think we owe our parents anything? What is your thought? Let's talk. Parent anything? Whichever age you are. Do you believe that you owe your parent anything? So let's listen to this lady, because she sparked my emotions negatively yesterday, and I was like, I'm a reactor, and so I'll come out react, not for fun, not just for views, but because she is messing up the African culture, and she's messing up the aspect of now a parent taking care of the child. How many parents then should you think they go ahead and never bear kids? Then what a nation would we have? I have a friend actually in one of the investment groups who says that she's a no-child community. I don't know how many of you would fall for the same if you thought that children will begin to disown us, so that you just live and die and you are done and dusted. Everything is forgotten. So let's come to this lady first before we can proceed to more talk. So thank you so much for those who are following. I really appreciate your presence here. You've not lost your way. And this is a discussion that is very essential. I believe, apart from, I had somebody who said on Obina's show, I don't remember this guy. If you actually, you know that guy who came for an interview, he was like, I hate kids. That guy. And Obina was like, what? And he's repeated, he said, I really don't like kids. You know, there is actually generation of people are coming up, and they are called no child community. They are there everywhere in our Kenyan society. I don't know whether it's because they are disappointed, they feel they should never have a burden in life. I don't know, whatever it is. So let's turn to this girl first and listen to her and see her non-verbal and verbal language, guys, before we proceed. And I don't know whether you adjudicate for what she said or whether you support my views. Let's start with her. So this is the lady actually.
Is that I don't owe my parents anything. One of the biggest lessons I had to learn in my life is that I don't owe my parents anything. I owe my parents zero. And it's one of the hardest things, because in our culture, we're raised to feel like we owe our parents everything. We owe our parents every inch of success we gain. But the truth of the matter is, you didn't choose to come into this world, right? And if your parents your parents chose to get pregnant and give birth to you, them putting a roof over your head, that's their responsibility. Them feeding you,
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? The lady says that one of the biggest lessons that she has had to learn in her life, I don't know from where. Because my question is like, all right, you are from Nigeria. So where did you learn this lesson that you don't owe your parent anything? Even an explanation about your life, you don't owe them. Even how you perform in school, you don't owe them. Even how you do in life, you don't owe them. Now, I don't know. The Bible always says that our parents are the first gods in our life, guys. And if you support me, give me a like, guys, if you support my thought, because I'm reasoning using the biblical argument here before I just proceed. And I told you I'm eating lunch. Mama G, you are saying which country is that? My country or the lady's country? The lady comes from Nigeria and I am in Kenya. Mama G, what about you? Thank you for being the top fan. Catherine Mungohe, hi, how are you? Are you from Kenya, America, US? Tell us something about this. And what is your thought, you know? I would just wish that you give us any thought you have about this lady. the Nigerian kid who said that she had to learn in life that one great lesson is that she doesn't owe her parents anything. And she emphasized that she has a zero, zero responsibility towards her parents. She said that if they wanted, they would have chosen to abort her. And if they wanted, they would have chosen not to give birth to her anyways. Hey, are you getting that attitude? Catherine Mungohe, Mama G, and any other person, because I can see almost 5 people online. Are you getting that tingle? Hey, hey. All right. I was just giving you a breath so that you pull in that information and maybe give your views. What is your thought? This is how the world is turning. Is it the 22nd generation? Because I think the 21st, we are almost finishing the 21st century. And my question was, is this why we have now kids who go to the streets and they don't fear that they'll die? And they tell us that, yes, I'm gone for the adventure, and if I die from there, know that I did my part. Of course, I'm not against picketing. I'm not against that. But it's like the current generation are turning against their parents, and they feel like they don't owe them anything. You know? They don't owe them anything. They don't have a responsibility even to take care of them when they grow old. And I'm just doing this reaction because I feel this one is pricking into our culture. It is actually a thorny aspect that is making now parents also, like, if all parents decide they don't have children, then the generation is extinct, right? That's what I believe. And if you bear a child and take care of them, maybe all your resources, you take them to school, you ensure they have a good life, you know. Even when we invest, for example, in real estate or anything, don't we do it for our kids? Just like we feel like we owe them that responsibility, don't they owe us any responsibility or any duty? Yeah, so guys, let's go back to this lady. Hey, and I told you, I want you to look at her nonverbal, verbal languages and listen carefully to what she's saying. Actually, she's trying to sell a narrative. If all our kids are going to buy this narrative, we are done. We are done. People like us who have kids that are now going to school, and we are trying all the efforts to use our resources on them, we will be done. Yes?
Their responsibility. Them clothing you, that is their responsibility. I feel like as an African kid, we get bullied a lot by our parents because they always say, at least you have roof over your head, you have food in the fridge, blah, blah. But the truth of the matter is, like, that is literally the bare minimum of what you're supposed to do as a fucking parent. Like,
Hey.
our African parents literally bully their children, and they had kids just to have someone to control and oppress. They didn't have kids for a better tomorrow. They had kids that they could control. And one of the biggest lessons I had to learn, and I will always be the bad guy, because when I talk to y'all, I'm the bad guy. One of the biggest lessons I had to learn in my life is that I don't owe my parents a fucking thing.
Hey, Lilian Bosibori, welcome on board. Lilian Bosibori, welcome on board. Catherine Mungohe, I hope you're still here. Mama G, I hope you're here. Lilian Bosibori is like Gen Z. Hey, if a Gen Z is saying this, I wonder what the Alpha will say. The Generation Alpha, those who are now still in school, what will they tell us? They have the audacity, the effrontery, hey, the courage to come out and tell us that they owe us no thing. Do you know, using an F word even before your parent in Africa. You know, using it in America is a different thing. Using it in Jamaica is also a different thing. But now using it in Africa, like a daughter comes and tells you, I owe you no thing. Hey, this really shocked me. And that's why I came up to say that I have to talk about this. I actually have to talk about this because if kids will be coming here to listen, if daughters who are in universities are listening, those who are in colleges, it wouldn't make sense that your parent bore you. They took a responsibility to feed you, to dress you, which of course somebody is saying it is their responsibility. Then you come out in their face and tell them that you owe them no thing. Hey, I'm in shock. I'm actually in shock because when our parents take care of us, you know, Africa is not actually a land of plenty. Regardless of the fact that we look at ourselves as having land, you know, we have rivers, we have rains that are consistent. The resources themselves that can actually be sustained from generation to generation, they are limited. Save for few families maybe who accumulated wealth earlier, they had large portions of land and therefore that land has never been sold. For those who made it to get into power early enough and they have of course maintained it. And those who have been lucky because we have currently we have people who are going for jackpots or maybe gambling, then they fall for something and then they change their narrative. Or the situation like what we see for Marwa from Nyabohanse and Dimwango and the brother David Jr. Or the narrative of Obina, for example, or a demo of Facebook, or a narrative of, let's say, Bahati. You know, there are so many, of course. Not everyone in Kenya is blessed to have such an opportunity whereby they change their narrative and become rich and have property that could sustain their families up to old age. You can sit and say, I will hire workers, I don't have a child to take care of me. You know, it's always good to do so, actually, as a parent. But then if your parent is not in a position, I saw Ifunanya. Ifunanya is a lady in Nigeria. She used to stay with the father in America before the father relocated to Nigeria. And she was so concerned with the welfare of the father that at once, when the father was not communicating to her, she had to travel all the way to Nigeria and realized that her aunt and her uncle were molesting her father. She had to take the father to hospital, reinstate him, and make him strong enough, then do away spiritually with the aunt that was actually using kind of black magic on the father. Can you imagine? Now, if you have read A Silent Song as a Kenyan, or your daughter is doing it, go read that book, A Silent Song. There is a story known as Ghosts, guys. Hey. Professor himself, can you imagine? A professor who has taught in a university for years and years, written books, helped people thrive through education, could not sustain his life at old age because pension stopped coming. Pension stopped coming. The vice chancellor of the university was squandering everything. So he goes to the university and can't get the pension. So he has to live on what the daughter from America sends. Imagine. These are just few examples. But in real life, there are so many parents who actually look after us for help. Even my parents themselves, my father used to be a teacher, primary school teacher, he retired. He earns some little money from his pension, but that is not enough for everything that is required. Remember, in old age, this is where a lot of parents are sick. They have these conditions, I don't know, heart attack, they have artery problems, they have blockages, they have pressure. And these conditions came not because they wanted. Some of them came because they were struggling to give birth to us. Some of them came because they were depriving themselves the lifestyle that is necessary for good life. They were working hard, going to the field, plowing physically, so they never had time to rest. And they didn't even go to hospital when they had simple sicknesses because they so that they pay our fee. Hey, somebody say hallelujah. Somebody say hallelujah, because if you look at this, then I say our parents really did a lot. I don't even know how I can manage what they did. You know, these days we have just 2 kids and we complain. We can't see even our salaries enough. Those parents had very little money, but they sustained us. They made us go through education, even though we may have entered in careers that we don't want, that we don't long for, but we have a way we can change that narrative. So then, if I don't owe them a responsibility, who do I owe a responsibility for? Just my kids? And then my kids will not also owe responsibility. What a society that will be torn. What a society. Mm-mm. Actually, somebody had to interrupt me, and I thought it was somebody in need, but it seemed to have been a stray call. So guys, thank you for being here. And I'm still going to play more into this video. Yeah? Let's just watch this lady as she goes through her ranting. I call it ranting because she doesn't make sense in what she's saying, you know. I don't understand. As an African, I don't understand. And my followers from China, India, South Africa, Sydney, Jamaica, you can actually put an input here. Tell me, what happens in your nations? Do your people, maybe is it that because you are in US, you don't have a responsibility towards your parent? For those of you who are in India, tell me something. Let me understand. Even if you will watch this later, just drop a comment in relation to my discussion or reaction. Am I being too... some people call it what? Am I being too sensitive or reactive or radical? Some say that, I'm not getting the word. Anyway, let's watch this lady as she talks more again.
As a Nigerian kid, one of the biggest lessons I had to learn in my life is that their responsibility. Them feeding you, that's their responsibility. We're bullied a lot by our parents because they always say, at least you have roof over your head, you have food in the fridge. But the truth of the matter is, like, that is literally the bare minimum of what you're supposed to do as a fucking parent. Like, our African parents literally bully their children, and they had kids just to have someone to control and oppress. They didn't have kids for a better tomorrow. They had kids they could control. And one of the biggest lessons I had to learn, and I will always be the bad guy, because when I talk to y'all, I'm the bad guy. One of the biggest lessons I had to learn in my life is that I don't owe my parents a fucking thing.
Right?
At all.
Fantastic. And as I was watching this video, I had this sudden urge.
Yeah, so fantastic. Fantastic comedy had to tell all the women folk to come out and talk. And I'm hoping that I'm the first person talking because I've not seen anybody talking about the same. And I'm expecting more people to talk about this. Why the hell would I actually invest in my child if they will not at least do the bare minimum for me too? Not that I really want that, because if I would be self-sustaining, then it would be okay. But still, even those who have, their kids have to check on them. They have to check on them. And in an African culture, it's not like when I have everything you can't bring to me. You know? If that was the case, how would we be having networks? Hey. Does network mean that it's for those who lack? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. So guys, I decided that I'll be checking on some tickets online. Just to hear what other people feel about this aspect of parenting and the responsibility a child may have towards the parent. And allow me to check on that, you know. Just give me a minute to check on that. And unfortunately, I'm eating as I streamline. And it may be messy. So let's check for that ticket. I had opened it somewhere. I want you to listen at this. Nauman Ali Khan is an Arabic. 8 months ago, Nauman Ali gave a speech about what respect we have towards our parents. And I didn't want to bring in somebody from my culture. This is Arabic culture. So I want you to listen to him. Just a little bit. We won't listen to everything.
A small piece of a long ayah. This ayah belongs to Surah Al-Ahqaf. This is the 46th surah of the Quran. And here Allah Azza wa Jal gives us one of the most beautiful du'as in the Quran. And that du'a is way too long for one khutbah, but at least one part of it I want to share with you. But before I do that, I want to give you a little bit of the context of this ayah as per the surah itself. Allah Azza wa Jalla a couple of ayat before mentions إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Those who declare that Allah is our master, and they're firm and they remain straight on that commitment, that declaration, then there is no fear on them and they're not going to be under any kind of grief. They're not going to be the ones that are grieving. Then Allah says, أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ. Those are the people of Jannah. Those are the companions of Jannah. May Allah make us from them. خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا جَزَاءً بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. They're going to be staying in it as a compensation of the kinds of things they used to do. So they used to do good deeds, and their compensation as an added mercy from Allah Azza wa Jal is Allah will give them Jannah. Then the ayah that I want to share with you. Why is that important to note? Because of the things that will lead a human being into Jannah, Allah could have mentioned any of the a'mal, any of the deeds that will lead one to Jannah. He mentioned this one here. So this is one of those ayat that has keys in us for direct access to Allah's Jannah. May Allah make us all worthy of it. So it begins, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ إِحْسَانًا. That we gave the human being a lasting legacy, a will, a strong counsel in regards to both parents. إِحْسَانًا. To the best you can possibly be. That's a one-word declaration, إِحْسَانًا. And it's mansub, the fatha on it, إِحْسَانًا, like that, it's pronounced like that, عَلَى الْإِغْرَاء. What they say in Arabic, you better be the best. It's very strong language in order for us to be the best to our parents. And by the way, this khutbah is not about parents. I want to introduce you to the rest of the ayah in a rough translation and then share one part of it that I think, it will be the primary subject of our khutbah today. حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ كُرْهًا. Then Allah starts talking about one of the two parents, the mother. And He does this on many places, many occasions in the Quran. His mother carried him, with a lot of discomfort. وَوَضَعَتْهُ كُرْهًا. And then she gave him birth. She let the load go, meaning she delivered the baby with a lot of discomfort. وَحَمْلُهُ وَفِصَالُهُ 30 شَهْرًا. She still then carried him around and fed him for 30 months. حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ. Until then, fast forward, he reaches the age where he's a young man. Now this man is a teenager. And he's entered into manhood. And then fast forward again quickly, وَبَلَغَ 40 سَنَةً. And now he's 40 years of age. So in a snap, in a quick flash, Allah Azza wa Jal describes us from inside our mothers and the pain she went through. and then quickly to being teenagers, to quickly being 40 years of age. But notice, in all of those stages, the one that we don't remember at all is the stage that we had with our mother. And the one that we have a lot of memory of is especially from our teenage years onwards. And yet Allah describes the part that we remember in very brief language, and the part that we don't remember is given many pieces. First of all, حملته أمه كرها, then وضعته كرها, then حمله وفصاله 30 شهرا, none of which we remember.
Guys, I hate to take you to the Quran actually. I hate to take you to the Quran, not because I'm a Muslim, but I just wanted you to understand the essence of our responsibility towards our parents is not something that we can bargain around. And you can actually see that in the Muslim context, the Quran dictates that the minimum bear you can do for your parent is to appreciate by doing the best for them in your age, 20, 30, 40, and whichever. I really appreciate some people out there because, so guys, there was some disconnection a bit, but I think even if you don't understand the Quran, we've had Nouman Ali Khan clearly telling us what responsibility we have as children towards our parents. Just like we always have a reminder about parents taking responsibility of their kids. Now, I also went to a teaching from self-government.
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep track of all my tasks.
Nicolene Pick was also talking about the same thing. And because I didn't want to own the information from this context, I decided that I'll bring out what other people say. And if you have ever heard of Nicolene Pick, this is what she has to say. This one at least you have to see. I don't know whether it will be actually clear enough. Yeah, it is. This is what she says. Just listen a bit. I won't play for very long, but then it's necessary I do.
Responsibilities of parents. Do you want to know? I'm Nicolene Peck, and I teach parenting and good communication all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're going to be talking about what parent duties and responsibilities really are.
You can parent responsibility. Okay, let's hear that part. Maybe after that, then we'll look at what is the responsibility of a child towards a parent.
Sometimes there's some confusion about what parent responsibilities and duties are. I'd like to clear up a little bit of that confusion and then talk about what duties and responsibilities you can focus on to be a good parent. Many people think that a parent is supposed to handle every problem for their child. And that is simply not true. And then there's some people who think that the child is responsible for handling every problem themselves. And so they take a completely hands-off approach. So we have this battle that is always going on between the people who think that you should micromanage and control everything, think helicopter parent, and the people who think you should let the child just decide everything on their own, think free-range parenting, okay? But neither
I don't want to really take a lot of time on this discussion, but I know that this lady actually gives clarity on the role of a parent on their kids and the role of a kid towards the parent, you know. And if you listen to her throughout the part, they'll talk about how a parent should enhance religious integrity, social integrity, and intelligence in other ways on their kids. Now, when it comes to a child, of course, they are answerable to their parents.
Going to teach their child how to pray. Think of all
Their
the
health
movies
matters
that
when
have
they are
a parent
kids.
speak
It's a
their
question that their parents will handle.
child
Their
is
social
how
life
to
so that they don't get into aspects of delinquency, poor relationships, or premature relationships, or a life that is confused. It's also the role of a parent. So a child cannot say that they are adequately on their own to handle this. Now, let's get to another speaker again. I had gathered several speakers who talk about the same topic because I didn't want to sound like a broken guitar. talking about everything here when we have people who have dealt with the subject at length. Now, Rabbi Simon Jacobson, I hope most of you have read his books. He's a great writer. He has a great viewership. He has almost 321 followers, you know. So Robin comes up and says something here. Would you say because he's old, he's defending himself? I don't know what you'll say. But this is my view. I think he's giving lessons to people all over the world.
And especially elderly parents, as they become more needy, as they become more dependent. It's not an easy thing to do. So the big question, are we obligated to help our elderly parents? And this question is acutely growing as the largest demographic today are the elderly due to higher life expectancy, health, medical interventions. And it's a question that isn't just about a moral obligation, it's also about our spiritual well-being. What lies behind our relationship with our parents? Both when we're children and they take care of us, and as they get older, and we may need to take care and support them. So please join me in this important discussion. Are we obligated to care for our elderly parents?
So guys, I'll send you to go listen to Robinson more. But you've seen already in the introduction, he tells us that you can already see that he's telling us something here, right? He's telling us that we have the duty to look after our elderly parents. When they age, they need us.
Honor our parents.
We need to honor them because there is nobody else we expect will take care of them if we don't. The government can't.
This doesn't mean your parents are perfect. This doesn't mean your parents are God.
Maybe some of them will make, abnormal demands. And of course, once we draw the line between demands that are abnormal and what we can do, the bare minimum, then we go for that.
This doesn't preclude our responsibility to hire help. It doesn't mean we have to do everything ourselves.
Yeah, so it's not actually from Robinson's point of view, even from my point of view, it's not that we do everything. Like now, a parent cannot tell you, buy for me a plane, buy for me a Mercedes Benz, buy for me this, build now a palace, buy for me a golden dress. That one is an abnormal demand. But there are demands which some parents even don't tell us to do. But because they are aged, they need maybe a helper to enhance running of errands within the home. Maybe because they are old and nobody's at home, since many children are now going away to other towns. Let's say if you are from Kakamega, all the children have gone, maybe some in Arabic land, some in UK, some in other countries, others in Nairobi. So this parent is all alone. And let me tell you guys, once people within the village realize that your parents are alone, a lot of insecurity issues arise. They know these people are weak. They sleep maybe when they are so tired and they can't wake up that fast. And even if they wake up and go outside, they cannot defend themselves. They cannot fight. So you find that most of the young people were energetic and they decided to be lazy. They'll be coming to the homes to try steal. They may even want to break into houses. They may want to go to the farms and harvest their products. So you have that responsibility to actually provide security even from far. Putting a fence, for example, if your parent didn't do it, you need to do it. You have to do it, because are you happy if you find that your parent was killed? Somebody came to steal, there was no fence, there was no gate, there was no, somebody to guard them, and somebody invaded and killed them. How happy will you be now? If you have some money and you can actually hire clinical services for the parent, because they have these long-term diseases, old age diseases such as obesity, though obesity is not an age aspect, cancer, they have heart problems or any other problem, including blood sugar diseases. Yeah? Don't you think you have a responsibility to actually hire for them a health doctor, or rather register them under SHA, then make sure that they can get the treatment they deserve? Don't you have a responsibility to make their home better? Because maybe when you're growing up, they had so many kids, and they could not build a better house. So would you leave them to live in a leaking house? If they don't have food, don't you think it's your responsibility to actually ensure that they have it? I think people should actually think before they talk and sell a narrative that would be changing the story of Africa. You know, that is a bare minimum, because I think sometimes we just spend like 1,000 or 2 a month to our parents, maybe, and we are earning even 50,000, you know, especially if you're men in the home. For us, for example, what we've done in our home is to agree that thrice a year we will have to contribute towards some specific needs. And we also work on health so that we register the parents under health insurance. And then plan on security matters. And of course, we have had to improve the house so that it's better. And also work on other aspects. Like they'll tell you maybe somebody stole something and it's a basic one. You will have to work through replacing it. But when they make unreasonable demands, you'll just tell them, this one I can't afford. So that's what I think, in my perspective. We cannot disown our parents. We shouldn't. If you are listening to me and you're a kid, you're working somewhere, just save a little. That little that you go to drink with your friends, that little that you used to travel around the world, that little that you used to buy dresses that you don't deserve, the bags and spend in hotels, six-pack hotels and all that, is what you can use to actually support your parent. You don't have to wait for them to ask, but you can actually understand that they need this, the bare minimum, the basics, and then provide for them. At least security, health, and food. That is majorly what they would want, as long as they have a good house also. Because they are old, they can't go like smearing the house. You can actually do a semi-permanent house and put them in. It won't cost a lot, will it? You can actually even agree with the shop around you, so that around home, so that they be acquiring products and you state to what level. That's what I believe. But children who are coming up on the social media to denounce their parents and say they don't ask a fat thing.
Very critical one. But I'm not here to speak about the very basic obligation. I think we all can agree, whether it's difficult or not, that there's a responsibility. Who more is responsible to take care of our parents than ourselves? Obviously, considering that how much they sacrifice for us. So that I think we all can understand. I want to talk about it on a deeper level. What really lies behind this commandment, this obligation of honoring parents? And by extension, even when it's difficult, when a parent is in a compromised situation and needs more help than when they were younger, what does that tell us and teach us about us human beings? So this, of course, goes back to the priorities that we have. What is the most important things in life? In the song, Harry Chapin's song, end of the day, work and other distractions became more important than a relationship between a father and a son. When we all hear that, we all know that's tragic. But some of us will say, well, that's reality. We have to pay support. The irony is, I'm not there for my children because I'm there to provide security for my children. But the biggest security is you being there for them.
So guys, the lady that was ranting online was from Nigeria. Actually, you heard her. And now Robinson is from America, right? A developed world where they have home cares. But he comes on the platform to remind us the role of us as kids towards our elderly parents. You know. Now let's get to the last point. Of course, somebody was like, all right. I think there is Jukwaa la Siasa Madhare. Somebody saying that as a man, you are not obliged to take care of your in-laws or extended family. If they never help themselves from poverty, how on hell do you think you can make them better by carrying all their burdens? And this was a stressed parent, guys. A stressed husband who married into a broke family. So he regrets marrying into a broke family because even though he loves the wife, the burden is too much. They don't say it, but they have great expectations. She's the firstborn, and so he has had to cater for the parents and siblings. That is an extension of discussion, guys. I heard yesterday Mama Frank. I hope all of you know Mama Frank. She dances on TikTok a lot. She sells products, especially Mikorogo, bleaching agents. And she was actually clearly saying that when she went into a marriage, she agreed with her husband that when it comes to responsibilities to do with her family, she carries them. When it goes to responsibilities to do with the husband's people, he carries them. Unless it reaches a point whereby maybe they are very sick and the husband doesn't have anything. You see that? So there's that mutual agreement that was actually discussed. There was no assumption made, there's that point where there are assumptions. Now, I will also think about for people who actually marry then begin regretting. These are decisions we make, and marriage is not just a bed of roses. Before you make a decision to marry somebody, you must be aware about the surrounding, like how many siblings does the person have, how about the parents. If there is a burden, a small burden you can carry, like transform their lives with the minimum that you wouldn't regret, then do it. But if you think you can't, it's better you don't go into the family and begin to declare on social media that you love your wife, but the burden is too much. Because already there is a question mark there. When you are sharing online that your in-laws have expectations, even if they don't ask and you are feeling burdened, there's a problem. Or automatically there'll be a broken marriage ahead, There'll be a broken marriage. That's why we are saying it is your daughter, your son, who should carry the burden. Like, if you come from such a broke home, once you get a job, the first thing I've seen many people trying to transform their homes so that when they get married, their husbands should not feel like they have really gotten into a broke home and they're carrying every burden. And also, my question would be, does it mean the wife does not work or what? Because if the wife is working, then whatever amount they get, also they have to transform their homes. They shouldn't fully rely on their husbands to do what is supposed to be done in their home. So such a post on social media is actually a warning to many, not just the guy, but also to the lady, That's a red flag, right? Now let's get to some other response here. Of course, I've told you about Mama Frank and Mbaba's not yesterday actually, on Ofweneke show. And she defined clearly what happens. But in most families, nothing like that happens. People don't agree. Expectations are held. And therefore, people just go on to make demands and all that. And becomes a problem, actually. Now, I've given you opportunity to share your comments, Give me a like and share my video. And what do you think? In both subjects, we have a subject whereby the expectation of a parent on a child, whether a child has a responsibility in old age to take care or rather to do something for their parents, and not even in old age. Once we are responsible, do you think we have that duty that we owe our parents? And now there is this other one that has come up, though I'm not diving deep into it. Do you have a responsibility or obligation towards your in-laws? Whether you are a lady or man. We had a lot of discussions surrounding Otuoma's parents on Rachel. If you know, you know. Do you remember that story when Otuoma was actually stuck in the wheelchair and he died? Many people really questioned Rachel. What has she done for the in-laws? And so many people came out and said it's not her obligation to do anything for the parents to Otuoma. And in fact, on Obina's show, Obina came out clearly saying that it's not his responsibility to take care of the in-laws. You know? So this is a question that is coming up in our current Kenya, Africa, and the world at large. And some kids feel like they don't owe us anything. While in my perspective, I feel we owe our parents a lot. But in case they raise, unreasonable demands, we can reject unreasonable demands. But for the normal basics and that, which they provided us when we were young, we can actually offer them. So guys, thank you so much for being present in this reaction. And I'm going to have another reaction because I've just started the day late. And we're going to have more live streams and more videos because we need to hit the goal. I have a goal to achieve and therefore we have to go on and on. So this is the first stream we've done and we're going to more and more. So keep waiting and let's get to them because it is what it is. Goodbye. Adios. Thank you so much.